Let's carry on and focus on rather carry on with our focus on World Refugee Day. The United Nations High Commission on Refugees says it has voluntarily repatriated a total of 254,811 since 2011. Speaking in Dadaab town, Jean Bosco, the head of operations at the UNCHR, said the repatriation to Mogadishu and Kismayu was mainly done by air due to poor roads occasioned by heavy floods along the Dadaab-Liboy-Dolobey road. UNHCR officials who spoke to Citizen TV on condition of anonymity said that repatriation by road was also suspended over security concerns. Some of the refugees interviewed were reluctant to return back to their countries of origin through voluntary repatriation, citing lack of social amenities such as proper healthcare and education systems.
Uses a lot of products like tomato, watermelon, pumpkins, mchicha, sukuma and spinaches. Those are mostly the beneficiaries are the refugee community.
It is a voluntary repatriation. We wait until people make their mind and decide to go back home, and we try to facilitate their movement from Dadaab and other parts of Kenya, notably Kakuma and Nairobi, especially as we are not promoting yet the repatriation. We are only facilitating. And thanks to the Kenya government, there is no pressure on refugees, and those who have not made their mind yet are allowed to stay peacefully and quietly in the camps.
All right, Bahati, you have the tough chance to respond to what has come out in that video. Freedom of choice to stay in the host country or to go back to the country of origin for refugees. How do we as a community navigate this minefield?
Wow. You know, I understand that it's a matter that's not very simple. Yes, repatriation is a good idea if said country is safe, but pay attention to the reason someone fled.
Initially?
Yes, initially. It's different for different people. And also there's the issue of the refugees who were born here and who don't know the other country. For example, I have a younger brother who was born 4 years after we came here.
After you came to Kenya?
Yes. So he doesn't even speak the language. He understands it, but he doesn't speak the language. He doesn't know the place. So in all sense, aside from the fact that his family is Rwandan, he doesn't know anything about that. He's basically Kenyan. And so if you are repatriating people, how do you take into account this population who have only known this country?
Do you feel more Kenyan than Rwandese?
No.
No. For you, you still kind of have that, but for your brother, I'm sure it's slightly, it might be different.
No, it's another complicated issue as well.
Because like for me, Sterling, when I spoke to him yesterday, he sounded more Kenyan than, I don't know where he's from, but you said it's another complicated issue.
Yeah, it's complicated because though some of them are born in Kenya, you will find that they don't feel Kenyan as well. Because as I have said, everywhere you go, there's someone reminding you, you are not one of us. You are not one of us. You are like everywhere, it's reminding you that you do not belong here.
You do not belong.
So they are left, you know, not knowing where is where. They don't know home. The place that is supposed to be home for them is still not accepting them. So there's a problem in terms of integrating refugees and host communities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tekla, let me come to you and get your final thoughts on this. What message would you want to leave Kenyans with and anyone who's watching us online on this World Refugee Day? We've talked about a lot of issues, but for you, what do you think we should really focus on World Refugee Day?
What I can tell my fellow Kenyans is that let's continue supporting the people that they are already in our country, and therefore, and continue also from the point of view of the government to continue talking to their counterparts so that they can have peace, so that their people go back home. You know, you can go and start from the scratch, but that's your home. than somebody reminding you don't belong here. So you don't have peace.
So you want to speak to our government today and tell them, talk to these other governments?
Yeah, they have mandate to talk to the other government, because you will also get heavy when you receive all the time people come to your home. And who is occupying the other side? There are few people who want to just destroy the other side. We want also to go, for example, we want also to go to Sudan and do businesses there with our Sudanese who have been in Kenya, because when they go home, they will resettle. And therefore, they need peace, and they have to go and develop the other people to send. When they send people back home, the hosting community also should also follow up. If there are people that they send back to home, to their origin, they are being protected. And if there is lack of development, it's much easier to support them, because it's like your daughter being married somewhere. You will never just say, okay, she has left my home, I just forget.
You want to know where
you want
she's
to follow and go and
assist.
assist. Yes, that's my message.
Sterling, she's brought up an important issue of leaders talking to each other, and I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit. We know that, for example, the Trump administration seems to be cracking down hard on South Sudan. In fact, there's talk of sanctions, if that hasn't already happened. Would you say that's one way to go?
That's an error.
It's
on leaders, not on the community.
So we asked, and we actually in our polling we asked Kenyans, do they think their leadership, the political leadership, is doing enough to solve conflicts in the region? And it's a mixed bag. But you know, in terms of the Trump administration and putting more pressure on South Sudan or the political leadership, I mean, maybe we can focus on South Sudan. But I think there needs to be more done. I think sanctions. We shouldn't be cutting aid, because that only hurts the people who are most in need. We need to tackle the problem, and the problem is the political leadership in that country who are perpetuating the war. And I think there are real actions that sanctions can help with, but those need to be followed up by leadership in IGAD and by Kenya, by Ethiopia, and by Uganda to help also turn the screws of pressure to bring the actors to the table to really find a sustainable and lasting peace for South Sudan. And I think we could argue the same for Somalia as well, that there needs to be, I think Somalia's made some really great progress in recent years, and we should continue to support that going forward. Okay,
and one last short one from you, and I don't know if this came out in the research. We've seen organizations like UNHCR with some interesting initiatives over the last couple of months. A marketplace survey was done at Kakuma, and it emerged that if you're an entrepreneur and you go to Kakuma, you can actually do business with the refugees living there. Talk to me about, in a sense, private sector ideas that can hopefully change the prospects of refugees.
No, I think, and I think this discussion and the broader discussion that we've been having, given this kind of unprecedented number of displaced people in the world, this is a global issue, is that we need to think more outside of the box. It can't just be the traditional actors, UNHCR, NGOs, but we need the private sector to be engaged. There needs to be opportunities for investment to hire host communities and refugees, and Ethiopia is doing that as part of the Nairobi Declaration with the IGAD initiative on refugees. Their CRF commitments, they're going to have special economic zones with both where Ethiopians and refugees are provided, they earmark a certain number of jobs for refugees. Those could be tools that Kenya could maybe also employ in their economy. But I think it's, for me, we need to get beyond the encampment policy, because that's going to always be a kind of a wall for talent. And we can't create these microeconomies like Kakuma that inside a broader macroeconomy. You need them to be integrated.
So either you just open up.
So we need to explore and engage with the government on new ways, private sector, UNHCR. How do we integrate the good things that are happening in Turkana into the broader economy? Because I doubt that a lot of industrial investors are going to go build a factory in Turkana.
No matter how
it
much
doesn't
research.
make economic sense.
Okay. Unless it taps to the global, to the wider national economy of our country. Bahati, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh, 5 years. Well, I always say that I'm a humanitarian at heart. I love serving people, and I have a soft spot for refugees, because being one of them, I've seen what they're going through, and I've come to identify myself as a global citizen because of my statelessness, and it gives me a sense of responsibility for everything and everyone around me. So I see myself in 5 years taking care of the environment, taking care of the Kenyans, and most importantly, taking care of my people, the refugees.
What message would you want to send to whoever is watching this broadcast today, leaders, East African leaders, fellow refugees, Kenyans?
To the leaders, I would say this. Refugees have a lot to contribute to society. They have a lot to give. And I feel that they are a resource that is being wasted, that could be put to use and that could lift up this economy. To the Kenyans, I would say that refugees are people just like you. Do not be insensitive to their plight and to their suffering, because no one chooses to be a refugee. No one chooses to come from a place that's gone through war. And to the refugees, I say this. Today, I celebrate your resilience and your strength. You are strong, and may you never forget that.